Hey there, listeners and readers. Apollo here, and I'm joined today by Adam Rotondo and Yann Pepin from Artifice Studio, the team behind Sang-Froid, Tales of Werewolves. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and thank you
Actually,
both
no.
for being here today.
It's close.
Close.
Sang-froid would be the best way to say it in English.
It's
Sang-Froid.
yeah, it's a little tricky with
Sang-froid.
the accent.
If I'm not mistaken, that means cold blood.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, it's an English word. If you look in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it's an expression that's accepted in English. For example, you can talk about British sang-froid in the
Huh.
Second World War or something like that. And we
It
wanted a word that would have, a meaning in English and in French because of the duality we have here in Quebec, where,
Right.
we have both languages together. And also Cold Blood, as you said, well, it represents well our game because it's a game about staying calm under stress. And if you panic, then you will surely lose the game. But if you stay calm and keep your sang-froid or your cold blood, then you might be able to survive. Also, because the game happens in winter,
Right.
it's
froid
cold
means
outside.
cold, and because it's a bloody game against werewolves,
It's
we
got a lot of meanings in
there's the
there.
blood. So there's a lot of meaning in behind the choice we made for sang-froid, even if it's hard to pronounce.
Well, let's go ahead and begin with a look at your background as game developers then. So, where did you all start, and what inspired you to start?
Well, the oldest link we have in the team is between me and Vince. Vince is a co-designer with me and Louis Felix because like Adam and me didn't do the whole game.
Yeah.
We're a team of 6 people, and Vince and me met in high school, and so we shared the same bus travel,
School bus,
like
yeah.
yeah, in the morning, and so during that travel, we discussed together of our dreams of making games and everything.
They
And
used to play a
so,
lot of old PC games together.
yeah. And then we went at the university together too. And there we met with Louis Felix. And then after that, we worked together at EA on games like Army of Two. And then we did some weak stuff for the Simpsons and for Boogie Superstar, dancing game for young girls. And then and then yeah, we had an idea of about making a game that would feel unlike every other game we played, a game that would feel authentic, true to what we were, because living here in Quebec has some like I would say we have some specific background here, like because we are the only place in which we speak French, so we have
In
a
North
different in
America,
North
yeah.
America. So because of that, we have a different
Culture.
culture, and we felt that it could be really fun to get inspiration from all our folklore here in Quebec and Canada, and to make a game out of this. And so this is how the game started for us.
As for me, I
So,
worked with them at EA for a bit,
Yeah,
but I'm considerably younger than them, so I haven't been in the industry as long.
not that much.
Oh, it's 10 years. Ten
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
what did
He's
you
young.
work on at EA?
I worked. Well, I loosely worked on Army of Two. I was hired to work on like another project that team was gonna make, but that got canned. And then I moved on to the Wii stuff that Yan had mentioned, and that's when I met Yan and Vince and stuff like that, and we worked on a bunch of stuff there. And then when everyone exited, I kind of joined them afterwards.
So, how did this game come to the table? What kind of existing lore? You mentioned it was possibly based on some existing lore, and so what kind of ties does it have to maybe some existing Quebecois folktales?
Well, it definitely has a lot of link with Quebecois folktales, but not only Quebecois folktales. Like we inspired ourselves from a lot from Native American folktales and in general also Canadian folktales. So we had quite a broad vision for our inspiration.
For instance, one of the enemies, like the Wendigo, he's more of a Native American type of folklore because they believe that if you turn to cannibalism, you would get like cursed by one of their deities, and like it would become this like ice beast that just had an insatiable hunger for human flesh. So that's more of a Native American one than it is a Quebecois one.
Yeah, and on the other side, in Quebec, what is like the main creature we see in our folk tales are werewolves. It's there like in a lot of our folk tales, and so the main inspiration came from like all those werewolves folk tale. And what we found cool is that they are different from most of the tales about werewolves we
Yeah,
know
your
of.
typical Hollywood werewolf isn't the same as the, typical Quebecois one.
Yeah, for example, you don't turn into a werewolf by being bitten
Bitten.
by another werewolf.
Uh-huh.
You turn into a werewolf if your soul is corrupted, mostly by the devil. And then when you sleep at night, your soul goes out of your mouth and then it goes into the chimney of your house and then it looks for a beast
Possessed.
And then let's say your soul finds
A wolf
a
or a
wolf
dog.
and then it will go into the wolf and the wolf will transform into the werewolf. And at the end of the night, after the werewolf killed a lot of people, then the soul will go out of his mouth again and go back into your body. So like it's the kind of thing that feel a bit different from
Our perspective,
a lot
yeah.
of tales we know about werewolves, and we thought that starting from that place would enable us to have a different gameplay because we inspired ourselves a lot. Like our gameplay come a lot from the universe of the game, and we wanted to merge both together.
They work off each other really well.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. I actually hadn't heard of that tale, and I think that's
Well, not
it's
all Quebecois folk tales are based on that. Also, we have to say like
Yeah, there's a lot more
there's a
than
lot
what
of
we went into.
variety, but
This is what we used.
yeah.
But yeah, it's not well known. Like I hadn't heard about it until I started working on the project. There's a lot to learn. It's cool.
Well, it's because we met with Brian Perrault at the beginning of our project, and like this guy,
He knows his werewolf
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, he made a master on werewolves in Quebec, and so like without him, we wouldn't have know all that stuff.
Yeah, he brought a lot to the table.
Yeah.
that actually segues perfectly into my next question. So I saw on your website that you all are partnering with Brian Perrault. He's a fairly well-known author in Quebec of fantasy books. So how did you team up with him? What kind of role did he have in making big decisions for the game? Did he simply write the story and the script, or did he actually help shape the game itself?
Well, at the beginning, we contacted him just to have his idea on our project, and then like he was a font of knowledge on werewolves and everything, and so we
Reached out to
increased
him.
our contribution with him, like and then finally we decided we could co-write the story together, and so not right now like we can say that our game couldn't have been done in the same way without him. It's really like he played a big role in not only how to create the universe, but also
How authentic it is to the actual tales. Because he
to
has a lot of
write
a lot of his books like sort of base themselves in the same sort of like information. So like he really knows his stuff. So he was able to work really well with the game.
During the process, the whole development process, what have some of the biggest bumps along the way been? What's come up that you maybe didn't expect when you first went into the project?
Well, our first, I would say our biggest difficulty was funding, simply because, we didn't have help from government or things like that. We had to fund it ourselves. And, we didn't have a lot of money, and we even had to turn my house into a game studio. And so during the day, people have their computers all over the dining table and everything. And during the night, when my girlfriend comes from, after a day of work, then
We all just go home.
we take the computer out of the dinner table and we eat
Fortunately,
on that.
laptops
So,
exist.
yeah,
Yeah.
and for a few months, it's cool. But since the game lasted for 3 years, the development of the game was done in 3 years. Like it was quite a challenge at the end.
Fortunately, we only come here 2 or 3 times a week, so the other times we are working from home, so
Uh,
not always taking up his dinner room. Other problems I had issues with syncing stuff online or whatever, and I had my laptop stolen once, so I lost some work, and
Oh.
you know, crashing computer, lose a little bit of work. You know, it happens sometimes, but
And
it's something you can avoid. But
another thing we found, maybe what we found difficult, was the fact that for 3 years we were a bit, far away from our community. We didn't have a community. We were working in a closed environment, and so we never knew if what we did would
appeal to a lot
would
of
appeal.
people.
Yeah, since because we talk about our culture, but we didn't make a game for Canadians. We made a game for the world to enjoy, and we
So we
really
could share our
wanted to
culture.
make it accessible. And so we didn't know how the community would react. And now, since we start to have a community and we can have a dialogue with them, with our community, it helps us understand. And since the feedback is generally positive, it really reassures us that we're on the right path. But it was not always easy, especially at the beginning. So I would say the isolation for 3 years was a big difficulty for us, and we're happy to have a community.
Well, you've clearly spent a lot of time working on this then. So I think personally from what I've seen that the top-down strategy mode and the all of the third-person action look polished and very fun. So what aspects of this game are you especially curious to see people's reactions to?
I would say we have a lot of very innovative game mechanics. For example, fear factor and wind, pack management, and all of this. And I would say fear factor, for example, is a mechanic that is I'm quite curious to see how people will react to. It's the idea that you do not only fight by using brute strength, you fight by intimidating your foe. It's a mental game as much as a physical game.
Yeah, they always say they're more afraid of you than you are of it, right? So
And so we really put that into the game because a lot of time you have to face multiple werewolves at once, and you have to use, let's say, fire or to shout at them, at your enemies, to make them,
fear, well, to intimidate them.
to intimidate them, yeah. We think it's a new thing and we don't know how people will react to that. Also, like for example, wind is a different. It's a mechanic we don't see in a lot of tower defense kind of game. And in our game, instead of following a predefined path, enemies have this kind of predefined path, but they can deviate from that original path if they see you or they smell you.
Even if they hear you. So if
or
you take
hear
a
you.
shot at someone else and another enemy is too close, they'll come running at you.
So the game is very involving for the player. You cannot play our game while talking to your friends, or you have to really be concentrated on the game in order to play. It's quite hardcore, and so I think it will appeal to some players who are a bit tired of games that are made easier these days, just to dumb them down, because this game is not dumbed down. You really have to
You really have to think about it.
concentrate. Yeah, to think about it. Yeah. And also, we have a lot of traps that interact together, and the way it's not just about placing traps; it's about combining your traps in a very efficient way. And there's never one solution to every level of our game. Everyone can come up with a different solution to solve our puzzles. And I think that this is good, but on the other side, it makes, because it's not linear, a lot of people might,
Come up with crazy ideas
Yeah.
that we haven't seen before. Like even as we test the game, like we all test it, and half the time, like every other week or whatever, someone comes up and is like, "Oh man, did you try this?" Like it was insane.
on the other hand, I don't know how people will react to that. So I'm quite curious about, because it's emergent gameplay, and so we don't know how the game will behave.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone always thinks of new ideas all the time. So
I like that. I really like how dynamic and kind of engaging that sounds. I've always been a fan of games that have enough wiggle room for emergent gameplay, but they still don't kind of, do everything on their own. They still require you to have your head completely in the game and to be completely focused on it. So pairing the gameplay with the story is obviously important. You all really do want to tell your story here and give people a taste of some lore and things that they might not have heard of, depending on where they're from. So, what big steps have you taken to make sure that people remain immersed in this story and that the lore is continually kind of in their face?
Well, I mean, first of all, we made a lot of research before making the games. So, for example, like if you buy a gun in our game or an axe or an item, any item, there is a description of that item that explain, its story and everything.
Who made it, where it's from,
yeah.
why they used it in the first place. Like some guns, it talks about like it was better for this reason compared to another gun.
So I think that because of that, those descriptions will help people understand the universe. Also, we have loading screens, and during those loading screens, we have a lot of information that is given to the player. We have, and also in the cutscenes, we have actors. Well, we have our voice acting. We decided to add voice acting, which was it was not an obvious choice because we don't have a big budget, and making voice acting, good quality voice acting, cost a lot of money. But we really wanted to have this to improve the immersion of our game, to improve the effectiveness of the story.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
And if you play the game in French, like we had like their Quebecois actors. We even had like an Acadian actor because one of the characters is Acadian, so he has like an Acadian accent. It's pretty authentic.
Yeah. But also, what is really important to convey the feeling of the ambience in the game is the music. And we contacted some of Canada's best folkloric bands to make the music. And we really found out that fighting against werewolves with traditional music is really cool finally, because it looks like a dance after all, like a fight and a dance. It has
Very similar.
Some similarities. And it's a dance of death.
Yeah.
So we think that music will really help to.
People enjoyed it too. Like if you look at the trailers and stuff like that, everyone always loves the music.
Well, let's switch gears here, and I'd like to see what you all think of Steam's new greenlight process. How does that work? And have you approached any rival services to Steam, like Good Old Games or anything like that?
No, since the beginning we wanted to publish on Steam. That was our goal. However, we didn't know 3 years ago that Steam was to change their selection method.
Yeah, their format.
Yeah, so we had quite a surprise when after 3 years of development, we contacted Steam and saw that they changed their process entirely.
It was almost the perfect timing with that too, because we're like, okay, we're ready, and then bam, green light.
Yeah.
Right.
And so at the beginning, we were quite, let's say...
We were shocked.
Yeah, a bit
but
shocked.
It didn't turn out for the worse, but it's gotten better over time, because the way I thought it was going to be, I thought there was going to be maybe like 30, 40 games on it, and they would get a lot more, kind of publicity for it, because like there wouldn't be that many games and everyone would be looking at them and stuff like that. And then like for the first, I don't know, half an hour was kind of like that, and then it just skyrocketed. Like there's 1,000 games on there now, and it's
very big. But at the same time, it gave us ways to reach our community. Like I told you before, community for us, we had a big need to start, coming out of our house and talking to the whole world, and really Steam Greenlight really gave us this chance. We would not have,
like, if we had just released it on Steam like that.
Released the game like this. So there are, like, it's not perfect, but I have to say that even though we're still not greenlit, I still think that the whole process was more positive than negative for us. Yes.
So, how far along is the game in development, and should it get greenlit, do we have sort of an idea of when it may be released?
We would like to release December 5th, because our game is starting, like inside our game, our story starts December the 5th. our game is about surviving the whole month of December. You have a calendar in the game, and each mission is based on a day on the calendar, and you make a check on your calendar every time you pass a mission. And so it would be really great that people start to play the game.
The game actually takes place.
Yeah, exactly at the same time than what the same date than the game.
Yeah, and if you actually look at December 1858, December 5th is actually it was on a Sunday, right?
I don't know.
Or is it a Monday? Either way, it's actually correct.
Yeah. No way, made a research on that. But yeah, so yeah, we think we'll be able to release December the 5th, but still it's
It all depends
up
on,
to
you know,
Steam
it's up to
and the
Steam, yeah.
community, because we
Right.
need votes from people if we want to get greenlit. So
Although on a positive note, it's because they said they were going to greenlight 10 games on October 15th, or they were going to say these are the next 10 games that are going to be on October 15th. But it's not just like the top 10 games. They're looking at the top 100 games, and they're taking a lot more factors into it. So you never know what's going to happen.
yeah, since we're about number 25 right now on over 1,000 games,
We're in a pretty good position.
yeah, we think we have some chances to be greenlit quite soon.
Those are definitely good odds. Basically, Tales of Werewolves is listed as being book 1. So are you waiting to see how the first one sells and how it performs on Steam Greenlight before working on the next, or have you already kind of started doing the brainstorming for the second?
We're not a big studio. We're just friends working together. We have to work 100% on this game to make it the best game possible. We cannot do 3-4 projects at once. It's not the kind of studio where, you know, we can have multiple projects going at once. So we really concentrate on this one, and we'll see, because we'll also support the community and the game after. So we'll maybe react to what the community asks us, and maybe we'll make some changes, patches to the game. So we don't know how long we'll still work on the first, on Tome 1. But then, if we have a good reaction from the audience, then of course we would like to make the sequel. And we already know what would be the story for the sequel, and we already know about things we want to add on the sequel for the sequel. For example, we want to have a cooperative gameplay. That's something we wanted to do for the first title, but it was not possible because the game is such a big game right now, even as it is. We had to start with no co-op, but on the second one, that's definitely something we would look forward to have. So yeah, we know what we would like to add to our game, but we don't know if it'll be, we cannot make promises.
What are your goals then, and what would be considered a success for book 1 then to you all?
To at least be break-even, to not lose too much money.
It's always a positive.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, like if we can get some funding to have a second one, or if we can continue to fund ourselves just by selling games, we would do a second one. But
if we at least break even, it's probably like looking good.
Yeah.
You don't know until it happens.
The game looks and sounds great, and it sounds like you all have put a whole lot of effort into this, and it's sounding like a very comprehensive project. I want to extend a hearty thank you from pixeljudge.com for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us, and to everybody following this, you should definitely head on over to Steam's Greenlight section and check out Froid, Tales of Werewolves. There you can also follow the game on Facebook and Twitter, or you can also check out their website at www.sangfroidgame.com. That is www.sangfroidgame.com.
Cool.